Hello, Dukes fans. It's been quite a while since our last Dukes on the Pod episode, but today we've got a very, very special guest with some exciting news that we have shared previously, but we finally nabbed our famous coach here, and we'll introduce him in a second. But first, let's bring on co-host Chris Lopez. Chris, how you been?
Doing well. Just finished up our day 3 of student athlete registration day. So we got some of our student athletes registered for next semester. So that's always exciting. So yeah, just finished that up. So how about you? What's going on in your world?
Just making sure we get through practices right now. So for those that don't know, we were granted clearance to practice this fall. So we've had our basketball teams start up recently. Both soccer teams have been out on the pitch, and baseball and softball have been going as well. And so far, so good. Now it's under some really strict guidelines for safety, pod system, temp checks, and masked up, and all that good stuff. So far, so good. Let's get through it before we start throwing up the fireworks and everything. As I just mentioned, we've got a very special guest today. He is our longest tenured coach amongst all of our head coaches here at Cumberland. He's had numerous big success with the cross-country program, and now he is our leader, ushering in the most recent addition to the Duke's athletic department, which is our track and field program. I am speaking of the famous Dave Sheridan. Coach Sheridan, how are you?
Good. I think that's infamous, not famous.
I might have cut out, so you might have only heard famous. So, Coach, it's been an odd year.
Yeah.
Overall, obviously the cross country season, at least on our campus, was removed. But other than that, how you've been throughout the fall. I mean, usually you'd be in the thick of things right now.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just it's kind of quiet and it's crazy, and I'm just chilling, just waiting to see what happens next.
Right. As all of us. So let's get into the questions here. I mean the softball one, I guess, is what originally got you into coaching.
Well, I was a successful high school runner, holding 2 school records, and I went to Villanova on track scholarship for 4 years and just had the running bug. And one of the things that I wanted to do was be a teacher. But in the back of my mind, after all the running experience, I wanted to give back. I've been with shoe companies, I've run in the nationals, so forth. I want to give back what I know. And so it naturally led me to coaching. And my first teaching job, I actually, now this was a while ago, so don't laugh. There was no such thing as girls track and field.
Oh, wow.
It was in the Central League in Pennsylvania. They had boys, they had no girls.
Wow.
And I was one of the founders of the Central League track program for girls. And that was like back in 1973. I don't say that old because it doesn't.
Right.
So I always had this desire to give back what I know, what I've been through and so forth. As coaches, we all have crazy stories and everything else. And if it helps motivate kids to do better, then I'm fine.
That's crazy to hear. Seeing where we are now with at least collegiate athletics and high school athletics, to think that there wasn't a girls program in general is just can't really imagine it. So That's a tremendous story. I didn't know that. So good on
Yeah,
you.
that was a long time ago.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you just can't envision it. You can't see it without having girls track. So, transitioning to cross country at Cumberland, you've had a number of All Americans run here, and a good amount of runners run at the NCAA level after they're done at Cumberland. Um, is there a secret to having that success within the program, or is it just you have the talent and you just got to harness it and kind of guide it in the right direction?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. If you get talent that walks in the door, you want to be able to develop that talent as much as you can. Mm-hmm. I think in a lot of ways, junior colleges get average athletes that come in at times, and it's a matter of stepping them up to the next level. And I think you do that through consistency of training, attitude, and most of all, have a good time. Enjoy doing what you're doing, and get out there. And running is very interesting from cross country to track and field, is that it's very personal.
Right.
I don't care about the team. I care about me and how fast I'm going to run and how I'm going to do. Because if I do that, I am going to help the team. So it's a really individual, narcissistic kind of sport. But it really is, because when the kids realize that, okay, if I work harder and run better, it's going to help my team.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In that aspect. And we shoot for personal goals all the time. We set them up early, okay, here's where you are. Here's where you want to be by the end of the season. Let's get there before then.
Coach, is that something you did as a runner? You always knew your personal best and you kind of knew what you were shooting for?
Yes, constantly. My senior year in high school, I gave up running indoor track and trained on my own because I wanted my senior track season outdoors to be the best season I ever had. So I really focused on what I needed to do to get me better. And kids will do that. I mean, I'll be honest, I went from running 20, 25 miles a week in high school, which I thought was a lot, to 80 to 100 miles a week at Villanova.
Wow.
I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah,
when I got there, and they're all running at 80 miles a week. I'm like, holy smokes, I'm lucky I run that in a month.
Wow.
Transition to a whole different world. At Villanova, I ran with Olympians, national champions, and so forth. So it was a whole different environment.
Right.
But I learned a lot from that, and it's reflected in my coaching style.
Well, I'm glad you brought up your history at Villanova track, because now, I think we're in tremendous hands in bringing our track program here to Cumberland. I think you've been floating this idea and driving it for a number of years now, and for us to start this in the environment we're in, it's kind of funny, but finally we're getting it started in spring 2021. What do you envision for the track program at Cumberland?
Well, it's a new program, so I anticipate two things. One, some enthusiasm, and two, some difficulty. With the new program, you've got to set the foundation, you got to get it working, you got to recruit. With COVID, it's very difficult to recruit right now. High schools aren't having tracks. I look at this COVID stuff and I go, if this happened to me my senior year in high school, I would never have gone to Villanova.
Right.
I would never have run what I ran, because they wouldn't have had track and I wouldn't have had the opportunity. So it would have changed the world. And I think that changes a lot of kids right now.
Sure.
The kid a year ago that was looking forward to it and just may not have been motivated enough to keep working on his own and that sort of thing.
Right.
I'm hoping to see if we can attract the athletes right now who are enrolled now for the spring. That's one target group. And then the next target group is to bring kids in for the following year to introduce them to the program. The distance runners run cross country, and that segues into should be running cross country to get ready for basketball season. That won't happen, but
well,
we can hope.
Well, I'll tell you what, and you bring up basketball. Our men's basketball coach, Darren Stalling, he coaches at the middle school and high school level. So, he understands the benefits of cross country. So you never know. Just sometimes all you gotta do is ask.
Whatever they do is put it out there, get it going, establish a program, and hopefully you get enough athletes to make it work reasonably successfully the first season.
Right.
I'm not going to go out there and tell we're going to win the Nationals our first season, no. But at least get there and start, put the program in place, get the reputation going, and then it'll naturally attract more and more kids.
Well, heck, you never know. I'll tell you what, if I'm a basketball player, and my goal is to get a scholarship to continue my path to my bachelor's, track might be, and if it's not happening in basketball, to have this other weapon in your arsenal says, I was a NJCA Region 19, whatever, top runner in the 4x400. There's your path. The goal is to get the degree, obviously. So never know. I'm telling you, things could happen in a blink of an eye.
Coach, personally, what do you see being the biggest challenge adjusting from being the cross country coach to track coach? Do you see an adjustment, if any?
Well, the adjustment is the track encompasses a variety of events. Mm-hmm. Okay, from the sprinters, hurdlers, to jumpers, and throwers, and so forth. So they're all different. It's like a three-ring circus at times.
Right.
I coached high school track for 27 years.
Wow.
So I'm familiar with all aspects of track and field and can handle those things. But the problem is there's, maybe only one or two of us as coaches, mm-hmm. and there's 5 different things going on all at once. Right. So it's kind of like, a three-ring circus to juggle all together, but I don't see any particular problem with it.
Right.
Sounds like organized chaos.
Yeah. They're just running in circles.
I guess our last serious question for this is, for the students that are interested in track, whether they're enrolled right now or thinking about enrolling for this spring, if you're one of those students, what should they look forward to if they want to join Cumberland track this spring and the following spring?
Well, they should look forward to sweating and running and just looking forward to getting back into it. Mm-hmm. Because reasonably, these kids who are going to come out now haven't participated in almost a year.
Almost a year, yeah.
They didn't do it in the spring, so they're not coming off a hot spring season where they're ready to move.
Right.
It pretty much got tabled. So the desire to improve and to get in shape and stuff is going to be a tough one.
Right.
But kids, once they get out of high school, they kind of give up on sports and so forth. And to get the kid that was good in high school that now says, "Oh, I can still do this," to get them out, that's going to be a big challenge.
Gotcha. All right. So this next portion, we call round of 5. It's just 5 random questions that we kind of just drum up. So we're going to get right into one of the biggest unknowns on our campus that people should know. And that's the fact that you're a famous, accomplished actor. How did that come about? And I guess the a roundtable for us would be, what is one of the things that just are not known by most about you? So for Coach Sheridan, we're talking about your acting career. How did that come about?
How did that come back? Well, when they let me out of the mental hospital, I had to find something to do.
Right.
No, actually, it's a pretty simple story. I was bored. I had retired from teaching. I was bored. I saw an article in the local paper about Sylvester Stallone was filming the first Creed movie, and they were looking for extras. That send in a resume and a picture and all this crap. I'm like, I don't have a resume for that. So I just sent a picture of my name and phone. I sent it in and said, what the heck? Well, a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call. Hey, we're interested. We want you for this, this, and this.
Awesome.
I ended up working 7 days on the first Creed movie. I was just one of the crowd at the fight. You could barely see me. If you blinked, you missed me.
It's not what I heard, but okay.
But it was very interesting. I did it just because I was bored and I wanted to see what it was all about. And
right.
To tell you how many people were bored and wanted to see what it was all about, the first weekend that I went, there was over 1,400 extras for these fight scenes.
Wow.
That was Saturday and Sunday. Monday, it was down to 400.
Wow.
You know, people say, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then they got there and it was like 10 hours of sitting and sitting and this. And they just said, I'm not back with this. So I did that. And some other things came up. You know, I just started looking at it and said, well, you know, I don't have anything else to do. There was no track. So,
right.
So the spring.
That's basically why we added it.
Yeah.
Out of jealousy.
You want to get me out of acting. I understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I just did a variety of other things. I found it very interesting from the side of, you know, from the side of being on camera and what goes on with these things. You can't imagine the stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, but I found it interesting, and then it led to other things. I was a zombie in an independent film. It was all decked up with crazy gear and stuff, and then I started looking for different things.
Right.
And I've done stuff for the Investigative Discovery Channel on cable.
Don't tell my wife that.
Oh yeah, I did like several things on that. Geez, I was a detective, a cop at the Susan B. Anthony rally, and all these other things I've done. And it just moved on and on. And oh God, well, I guess the highlight at this point is I got asked to do the second Creed movie. And when I got there and they said, okay, you're part of the ringside crowd, which puts me in the first 2 rows ringside, I'm on Dolph Lundgren's side. Okay, so he's about 8 feet away from me at the time. And they move you around a lot. And they said, okay, you sit right here. Well, Brigitte Nielsen, if you know who she is, who was Dolph Lundgren's wife in one of the earlier Rockies, when it was in Russia, when he killed Carl Weathers or whatever.
Yep.
Well, she comes in and they put her like 4 rows behind me. And she started having a fit and said, this isn't going to work. I won't be seen and all, Hollywood. So then all of a sudden they pull her out of there and they bring her out ringside and then they go, okay, you sit there, you sit next to her. So I spent 9 days sitting next to Brigitte Nielsen.
Wow.
She's like 8'6". She was pregnant at the time and didn't want anybody to know.
Mm-hmm.
She was really nice. We talked a lot about stuff.
I bet you did.
Yeah, she's a character. And the funniest thing was, you realize that her and Sylvester Stallone used to be married. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I feel like I was watching like one of those just something on Sylvester Stallone.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I remember thinking
TMZ or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
He married Drago's wife. So.
Yeah. Well, he was on the other side of the ring with Michael B. Jordan. And this one time I'm sitting there with her. He walks all the way around the ring, comes right in front of her. I mean, he's not 2 feet in front of her. And it her.
Wow.
With a scowl on his face. And then walks to the other side. I just died. She looked at me. I looked at her. Well, whatever.
Who is that guy? You want to take care of him?
The acting thing is I like to do a lot of different things. I've done music videos. I did a rap video. I did a Wawa commercial. Back the Wawa commercial. Because you know how they have that Hoagie Fest?
Yeah.
Well, it was shown in their stores during Hoagie Fest. So if you walked into Wawa and looked up, you would see the video.
I'd love to see the rap video tape.
Oh, the rap video. I was a cop. I was all. Sometime I'll show you those.
Awesome. So what you're saying is you're rich. Thanks.
No, I'm a poor actor. I have to coach track to live.
Good stuff.
It's just interesting stuff. You get to meet a whole bunch of different people and do different things, but it's much different.
Yeah.
Behind the filming than you really think. It's like, I know during the first Creed, I was amazed that we got to film Michael B. Jordan spitting into a bucket 14 times.
Oh,
wow.
And that's what, no, we didn't like that. Move him over here. Move the bucket here. A little more spit, little redder. And it's just what you go through.
Right.
Jeez.
But
if I were you, I'd keep that. So do you want me to keep sitting here? Are we good? We good where I'm at?
You never know. They might just pick you up and move you somewhere.
That's what I mean. Since you took care of Michael B. Jordan, what about me though? We haven't looked at me yet.
I'm next. Where's my shot?
So we're talking about track and field, and it's I listed as a marquee Olympic sport. I think it's the marquee sport for the Olympics. In terms of the Olympics, what's your favorite event or sport out of the Olympics?
Well,
track and field.
Obviously it's track and field.
There you go.
Having run with and know Olympians.
Right.
Okay. And I know what they have to go through to get there, kind of thing. So it's an interesting perspective. Track and field, definitely. Any of the distance events, 800, 1600, 5,000, and so forth.
What are your thoughts on the speed walking event?
Is that enough of a comment?
There it is.
I mean, race walking's been there forever. I don't know. I don't know. Don't cheat when you race walk. But there's a
I watched it once and I'm amazed. I'm amazed.
I think Chris needs to try out for a race walking team.
For race walking?
Yeah, you can race walk around campus.
I think we do that already. We just don't get the notoriety for it.
Yeah, right.
Next, if you weren't coaching track or cross country, if there is a sport, what would you coach?
Well, everyone has an alter ego. And I will say I have coached soccer.
Oh,
many years, almost 20 years.
Wow. Okay. You're learning new things here. This is probably the most knowledgeable Dukes on the pod we've had so far.
I coached, all right, I want you just to erect a monument to me when you get a chance.
We will.
Okay, a statue right in the middle of campus. Say, look at all the crap this guy.
It might be way back in Lot K, but
I'm
still going to be up.
In the woods. I don't.
Still going to be up.
I started out coaching soccer with my children when they were growing up.
Okay.
That sort of stuff. And then it led to dealing with my son with club soccer. And I would take him to practice, and then I would go run during this practice.
Right.
One day when I got back in from the running, the head coach came over to me and he said, "You know anything about soccer?" I looked him square in the eye. I said, "You kick the ball in the goal. That's it."
Big goal.
Yeah, that's it. And he goes, "Well, I'd like to use you as have you be my assistant coach." I said, "Fine." I was going to be there anyway, so what's the difference?
Right.
So I got started, and I just kept doing it. And as history often repeats itself, while I was teaching and coaching at Salem High School, I started their boys' soccer program.
Look at you.
Wow.
They didn't even have a soccer ball at Salem High School.
Wow.
And I started their program there. We leveled out a cornfield and made it into a soccer field and everything else. So I originated the boys' soccer program at Salem High School.
Now, is there a monument at Salem High School?
I think it's in the cornfield.
Okay. That's all. Hey, again.
Now, this, I don't want to be labeled a traitor or anything like that, but I did coach for a number of years at Gloucester County College.
All right, we're going to stop recording. We're going to pause, continue, and then we'll come back. We'll come back.
Women's
just tell us when you're
soccer,
done, and I'll start recording again.
I just want you to know, women's soccer, and we finished second in the nationals.
Now, were there two teams then? Were there two teams in the NJCA back then? Is that how you finished second?
No. No, we were tough. We were tough. We were kicking everybody's butt.
That's good stuff.
And as a coincidence, the guy I coached with also coached at Cumberland, Dan Roberts.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember Dan?
I just remember the name. I never met him. Yeah.
Yeah, like a few years ago, he was the women's coach at Cumberland.
Right.
Okay.
So,
what a web.
I would coach
Tangled web.
No, I coached club teams up until a year and a half ago.
Wow.
I retired coaching soccer. I was dedicating myself to track and field.
I hear you. That's why we brought it in. Years after you joined.
Yeah. Slight delay.
So you're going to bleep that whole part out, right?
Well, I paused, and we're going to record again in 3, 2, and 1. Okay.
You mean I have to get rid of my Roadrunner soccer jacket?
I'm surprised you still have it, Coach.
I still have it. I don't think I've worn it in 10 years, but it's still there.
So we got two more here. This next one, what's the favorite activity that you had that COVID took away, or I don't know if you're able to do it now, but that originally took away?
Favorite activity, I guess it would be coaching.
Yeah.
But because COVID doesn't stop me from doing anything else.
Right.
Like I still can go out and ride my bike. I can run if I wanted to.
Gotcha.
I just don't do the social kinds of things. Right. I don't go to the mall and that kind of stuff. But it hasn't taken away those things.
Gotcha.
But just my ability to coach. I mean, certainly I could coach virtually, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same.
So the last one before we conclude here, it's pretty evident that you love the sport of track and field, and just running sports in general. I don't know if you can name one thing, but if you could, or one or two things, what's the best part of track and field and just running sports in general?
Well, I think what I really, how do you say this? I envision myself in them. Let me kind of put it that way. When they're running, I'm running. Mm-hmm. And so I feel for them when, you know, they fall apart or they run really well, and how they feel after that, because I've been through all that myself. So it's kind of empathizing with my athletes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you were definitely in their shoes at one point.
Yeah. Let me throw one story at you.
Sure, go ahead.
It's a question you didn't ask, is how did I get started running?
Oh.
Shame on you. What kind of host?
Hey.
You asked about acting. You didn't care about how I got into running.
Well, I got you how you got into coaching. So the timeline started more recent than back when you started.
Yeah, there's always a history behind everything.
So I didn't say I was a good host. I said I was a host.
Hey, Chris, you're on in there. Okay.
We didn't say our podcast got great ratings. We just said
we're not focused on ratings or anything, but go ahead, get into run it by us.
A couple of months ago, I got inducted into my high school's Sports Hall of Fame, and of course, I had to give a speech.
Sure.
I'm like, crap, I don't want to do this. Just give me the award and I'll walk away. And I sat there and listened to other award winners talk for 15 minutes, and just, it was too much to me. Right. So I thought to myself, what am I going to talk about? I'm not going to write anything, so it was going to be extemporaneous. So I thought, well, the best story I have is how I got involved in running in the first place. So I got up there, and basically I said to them that, you know, I wouldn't be here if this didn't happen. And, you know, they're looking at me. I said, I had two words that explained how I got into running. Leo Marshall. You know, of course, they're all looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, Leo Marshall is a kid I went to high school with. And high school, when I went to high school, was 10, 11, and 12. 9 was junior high.
Sure.
Kind of thing. So when you go to the big school, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be it and everything else. And I thought, okay, I'm going to play football. Okay, I was 5'10", 121 pounds. I went out and looked at the practice and said to myself, I want to live. I mean, I said, no, can't deal with it. No, not going to happen. Whack that one out. So then the next day I went out to soccer practice. I said, okay, let me see what they're doing. I went out, looked, they're kicking each other, knocking each other down, getting hit in the head with the ball. I said, nope, not this homie, ain't doing it. So I just decided, okay, I'm not going to do anything. So my friend Leo Marshall comes up to me and he says, hey, Dave, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He says, why don't you come out for cross country with me? I said, yeah, that sounds great, great. What is it? I had no idea what it was.
Oh, wow.
I went out and I just started running with friends on the team. And then it just, you know, I thought I saw a talent and I just kept working, and that made me go all the way through. Well, it's mostly because I was scared of soccer and football.
Is that the moral of the story?
Well, Coach, we'll edit that part out. We'll edit that part out.
Sure,
We'll just show the part where you just started running, but no.
Well, I was going to play basketball, but nobody was impressed that I could dunk with my elbows, so I left that one.
Well, we got to bring you out to practice one time and show them how to dunk and all that stuff.
Yeah, just get a good 12-foot ladder and I'll be set.
Yeah, and I'll show them how it's done.
I think I saw one around here somewhere. We can get you one. But Coach, before we close it up, is there anything that you want to shout out to anybody? Any parting words before we close up?
Track is here. Come do it. I'm waiting for you.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Coach, thank you again. for coming on. We're all excited about track. Just looking around our county, at least, there's definitely a lot of talent there, and the surrounding areas. We have a beautiful track next door that we're going to utilize for practice, and coach has a terrific plan for our program in year one and beyond. So for everybody here, Chris, myself, and Cumberland Athletics, thank you all for stopping by.